World of Warcraft Shadowlands is the latest expansion to the popular MMORPG, and it's due out this fall. We're here now with Ion Hazzikostas, Shadowlands game director, to fill us in on even more details on what to expect in the upcoming expansion. Ion, hello!
Hey, great to be here.
Yeah, man, so good to have you. We saw your presentation earlier. It looks like you guys have a ton of stuff cooking up, but the things that you started with is that you guys were assuring people that the game is still coming out this fall. How's that going?
It's going. I mean, it's definitely been a unique few months to say the least.
Yep.
I think as John said to open up our stream this morning, we've all been trying to adapt and struggling in our own ways with everything that's going on in the world. But I think we've hit our stride in terms of development fully at home. We've kind of had to work through how we do creative brainstorming processes and how you kind of replicate the jam sessions that happen when you just bump into somebody in the hallway or swing by someone's desk and have a casual conversation that leads to an awesome idea. Well, it's harder to schedule those things, but we think we've got it down. And it's been amazing and inspiring just seeing, and realizing that Azeroth in World of Warcraft right now is an escape. It's a refuge for so many people who are stuck at home, are trying to, just try to make their way through these crazy times. And so being able to feel like we can contribute to that, it's actually inspiring. It really adds to the sense of purpose that we all have, which is something we're all looking for right now.
I think every company needs to set up some sort of like digital water cooler where everybody just pops in and they're like, so what's on everybody's mind?
Yeah, we've actually, we've done some of that for sure, right? Like a little casual, just like social hangouts, not even a meeting, just swing by and just talk.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it helps. The second thing you guys showed off was a really, really cool looking collector's edition.
Yeah. So we've always released a physical collector's edition since the earliest days of World of Warcraft. Obviously, more and more of people's getting a hold of the game these days is digital, but there are folks out there who have 8 of these boxes lined up on their shelves, and we have a 9th coming to slot in right alongside them. So, it's an awesome physical specimen. Just the art on the box that really reflects the thing I have behind me right now.
Yeah, the sky opening up and all that.
Peek into the maw, into the realm of the Shadowlands with an art book with our art book inside, mouse pad, pins, and more. So it's a really cool package.
Yeah, I see everybody gushing about the pins. The pins do look cool.
Everybody loves pins.
I'm actually one of the people that I don't have a shelf, but I have all of the boxes except for Battle of Azeroth because I received it as a gift. And so it was digital as a first digital World of Warcraft expansion. Other than that, I would always go to the midnight releases because those still exist sometimes.
Totally.
And then the third, well, not the third, but the third thing you guys mentioned in the thing was that the beta starts next week. I've been playing the alpha, but now it sounds like a lot of people are going to be able to jump in and experience what we've all been experiencing. How's that going?
It's great. I think we've reached that point. We've been unlocking zones one at a time, adding additional features in over the course of alpha, kind of, presenting the framework of this whole expansion piece by piece. And as long as that structure was still kind of incomplete, we still continue to call it alpha. But we're now just about to turn the corner and get to a point where it's all there. There's still going to be a lot of work to do, a lot of fleshing out of the specific features, but beta means the game playable from end to end, all the way up to the max level of 60, and it means a bunch of new folks getting invited to come experience it, give us their feedback, and help us make it great.
Yeah, I saw you guys announced, or like not announced, but showed how many like bug reports there've been and how many quests have been completed. Are you guys ready for those numbers to just be astronomical?
Well, hopefully not the bugs, but no, we're super excited. In a day and age, frankly, where a lot of betas exist, like, hey, this is a finished product, and let's get some people in as a sneak preview to kind of hype it. Our betas aren't that. I mean, of course, there's exposure that comes with it. Of course, it's great to get people excited about the game we're all working on, but we are still actively working on this thing. We are actively solving problems and often uncovering problems for the first time that need solutions, thanks to feedback from our community. And
Yep.
it's one of the most fun parts of the process. It's just a whole lot of problem solving, a lot of just coming up with creative solutions to the things we come across, and we couldn't do it without our fans.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ian, I looked earlier and I had to read it like 3 times because I couldn't believe it. I've been playing World of Warcraft since I'd say early 2005. Before, like, I would say probably 2 years before Burning Crusade came out. And I had to read. I was like, okay, how many expansions are we at? And Shadowlands is the 8th expansion, which is nuts. And when you see that a game is on its 8th expansion, you think there's no way I can play this. But Shadowlands, like when I say that, I mean like catch up to all the people who have been playing this game for 16 years. But Shadowlands seems crazy accessible. I've played the alpha a little bit. You're shrinking the level cap back down to 60, that's like my neighborhood. What are you guys doing to make it where if somebody who's either hasn't played the game in a decade or is playing it for their first time, what are the kinds of things you guys are doing to make it where someone is able to jump into Shadowlands and understand what's happening and be able to be a relevant player in today's game?
Yeah, so I'm really glad you asked. Shadowlands is probably the best time to jump into World of Warcraft as a brand new player since 2004. It's something that's really been a focus for us as we've approached this expansion and what our goals were. As you just said, this game's been around for 15 years. That's awe-inspiring. Mm-hmm. I've been playing it for all 15 of those years, but all of that same richness and depth and history of content and systems overlaid on each other that can be such a strength can also be an obstacle. It's intimidating for new players. Mm-hmm. And part of what we'd found over the years was that we had hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of stories to tell, and we didn't want it to take hundreds and hundreds of hours to catch up to your friends or play the latest stuff that you see being talked about online, which led to us speeding that up and speeding it up over time, until we got to a place where really the pacing of our game wasn't what it should be. It was kind of particularly overwhelming for new folks coming in at that stage. And so in Shadowlands, what we're doing is we have a brand new player experience that's freshly crafted. It's called Exile's Reach, that really introduces you to the Horde, to the Alliance, to what World of Warcraft is all about in the year 2020. And it explains the core systems that you need to understand, and it really reflects everything we've learned about making new content over the course of these 15 years. And then from there, you get funneled into our streamlined leveling experience that is basically the most recent expansion story. It's the story of Battle for Azeroth, an accessible core Horde versus Alliance Warcraft story that will continue to teach you about this world. And after a couple dozen hours, as opposed to what used to be a couple hundred hours, you'll be ready to go right into Shadowlands and join everyone else, armed with the information that you need to succeed in that environment. And so, torn down tons of barriers, and really, like I said, there just hasn't been a better time to start as a new player or come back after a long time away.
I'm glad that you talked about going to Battle for Azeroth after you reach level 10, after you finish Exile's Reach. Like a lot of people, I think everybody kind of has their favorite expansions here and there. My favorite expansion is Wrath of the Lich King. And so I oftentimes find myself wanting to go through, Grizzly Hills again and stuff like that. But it's so daunting to have to level up to that. And so you guys are doing something where I don't technically have to go to Battle for Azeroth, correct? I can get to level 10 and jump into Wrath of the Lich King, go to Northrend, right?
Exactly. So on your very first character, if you've never played World of Warcraft before, you will go to Battle for Azeroth. That is kind of the canonical timeline, and it's more tailored to get somebody new up to speed and to understand the world around them. For everyone else after that, if you're a returning player, if you have any max level characters ever, every time you hit level 10 after that, you have the choice of any of our expansions, from Burning Crusade all the way through Battle for Azeroth, or you can mix and match. But each one of them provides a complete self-contained journey that will get you to max level. That's one of the big things that we're excited to fix, particularly for alts, people who are playing multiple characters. One of the problems is if you wanted to go relive the full story of Wrath of the Lich King or Mists of Pandaria, you'd actually find that you out-leveled those zones way before you were done with the story, and we were rushing you along to the next thing because, again, we didn't want it to take hundreds of hours to level. This way we can actually match the leveling speed to the narrative cadence of our expansions and breathe new life into some of these stories that literally haven't been experienced the way they were meant to be told for 10 years since they were first out.
That's like so exciting to hear. Last question. There are a lot of folks that I follow that they solo old content for like transmog runs. Like I want, a specific sword look, and so they have to run old dungeons by themselves. How does that work with the new leveling system? Like, how do I go into Burning Crusade and be able to solo old raids that you shouldn't have been able to, that you're super over level for now?
So that's something we knew was essential to preserve. Like, there are people who are already established, exactly like you said. Their routine is they go do old content for collection purposes. And if we knew from the outset that any change we made to rescale or squish the leveling curve couldn't take that away. We couldn't make it so that suddenly you're going back to Icecrown Citadel to fight the Lich King, and no, you can't do this anymore. You could do it yesterday, but you can't today. So the way it works actually is that the content is still tiered across different level ranges. And so with the level ranges compressed, Icecrown Citadel might be something like a level 30 or 35 raid. And so your level 50 max level character can go in there and stomp it. But when you are playing through that zone, when questing, we're using an artifice that we're basically calling just our time walking system. The present timeline is Battle for Azeroth leading into the Shadowlands. But talking to Chromie, member of the time-twisting Bronze Dragonflight, she can send you back in time effectively to play through the Northrend campaign when the heroes of the Horde and Alliance went off to fight the Lich King. And when you're in that mode, the world will scale seamlessly from 10 to 50. But once you're out of it, once you're max level, you can still go back and stomp it to get your transmog or do the stuff you used to doing. We want to make sure we're not taking anything away, only adding more options.
Okay. I know I said the last question was going to be the last question, but then I thought of something new, so I'm going to ask it now. What was your... Were you guys worried at all? You have all these people who are level 100, 110, now 120. Were you guys worried about bringing everybody back down to 50 and 60? Because I was talking to a few people, and I was like, hey, just so you know, like, you're going to be level 50 when the new expansion comes out. And their initial reaction is, what? I'm 120. Like, how does that even work? Like, and I think most people are excited about being level 60 again. There's something about that number that's very nostalgic to people. But what was your guys' thought process? And were you worried at all that you were going to take everybody's 120 and make them 50 again?
Oh, totally. Like, that's actually, it's like that just visceral, like, this psychological reaction to that number. That number is something you've earned. You were proud when you hit level 80, level 100. You might have, literally thousands of hours invested in some of these characters, and taking that away was scary. It's something that we kind of, floated trial balloons, tested the idea, talking to people around our team, other folks around the company who are just WoW players. And there's definitely some of that initial, like, wait, you're doing what? But then, as we saw at BlizzCon, when we explain a lot of the upsides and what this means in terms of accessibility for getting alts to max level faster, getting your friends into the game more easily, and a better paced experience, combined with making sure that we're not actually making you weaker. The rest of the world is being rescaled to accommodate this. So when you log in the first day of Shadowlands, you'll be able to do all the same stuff you could do yesterday. It's just the number next to your character's unit frame is a bit lower, but then there's this whole host of other advantages. So we were definitely worried, terrified at times, but I've been really heartened and excited by the community reaction so far, and we think it's going to be a great addition to Shadowlands.
Yeah, when I think about it, when I think about the fact that I'm going to be level 60 again, and that's going to be max level, it feels weird. It feels like I'm back in high school. Hopefully that's how other people feel. Well, Ian, every time I see Shadowlands, I get more and more excited to jump in and start playing, and it sounds like we don't have too much longer to wait. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for stopping by, and of course we'll be keeping our eyes on Shadowlands as it approaches, and of course for everything else video games, make sure to keep it here on IGN.